Welcome back to Overtime. Our interview today is with John Klein, president of the Virgin Islands Swimming Federation. He also writes a column in the Virgin Islands Daily News. It's called Swim to Live. And in this column, he's been urging territorial members of the community to get young kids in the water as soon as possible. And he's here with me to talk about that. John, thank you so much for joining us. You're a busy guy.
Thanks, Monica. Thanks for having me here.
I want to talk to you first about your article. It's every 2 weeks in the Virgin Islands Daily News. Why did you embark on this project to reach out to the territory in this way and sort of convince everyone that swimming is not just something for sport, for competitors, but it's something everybody, particularly in the Virgin Islands, should engage in? Why is that?
Well, we live in islands, and inasmuch as we live in islands, we have a constant need to cross the water. And most of us that move around here don't fly back and forth from St. John to St. Thomas, and we don't have an airport in St. John. And we do fly back and forth from here to St. Croix. But the fact is we have an enormous amount of our whole population, our culture, that has to move around here on a regular basis. So what we also find is if you look at the history around here, what you see is that we've had drownings over the years. We've had boats go down. We have a maritime industry that needs to grow and flourish and doesn't because we don't have enough people swimming. So I've been involved in swimming my whole life. My daughter is a great swimmer here in the Virgin Islands. And what I found is that in order to try to raise the awareness, I was given the opportunity to write an article, and I like to write. So I started writing an article talking about let's sort of dispel a lot of the myths out there about swimming and really try to see if we can't get people swimming here from the time they're born and keep it as a lifelong sport. And I'm trying to use swimming really as a sport for cultural change because we need to change the culture to get everybody in the water.
What are some of the myths you talk about surrounding not only just swimming in general, but competitive swimming? What are some of the myths surrounding the sport and the activity that you feel we need to break through here in the territory?
Well, I think one of the myths that's out there is it's expensive. And the fact is it's really not expensive. If you really think about the whole concept of swimming in general, there's plenty of programs that people can get involved in to learn how to swim here that are in the water, in the ocean. And that's one way to get kids starting with some orientation there. But really to get kids, if we get the proper strokes and techniques and to see what kind of talent we have, we need to get kids in the pools. And we have one pool in St. Thomas. We have a 25-meter pool that is run by the St. Thomas Swimming Association.
It's in State Nazareth on the east
State
end of St.
Nazareth, next to the National Guard Armory. We also have a 50-meter pool in St. Croix that is run by the St. Croix Swimming Association. We have two teams. We have the St. Thomas Stingrays here. We also have the St. Croix Dolphins. And what I found is that there's this general idea that goes way, way back, unfortunately, all through Caribbean culture, that there's creatures in the water, there's things in the water, there's things that scare people. People are scared of the water in the Caribbean. So I wanted to dispel a lot of those myths, and if you want me to talk more about that, I can, and where they came from.
Okay. Let's shift just a second and talk about your work with the Swimming Federation. You talked about the St. Croix Dolphins. They are embarking on a huge fundraiser, $50,000 in 50 days for 50 meters. Of course, they're talking about the pool over at the St. Croix Dolphins pool. And it is the only 50-meter pool in the territory that is regulation size, ready for competitive swimming. Ground broke on this pool almost 40 years ago, and repairs are necessary. Tell me how important it is for this to happen at that facility.
I think it's critical that it happens at the facility because right now the only place we can get qualifying times in 50-meter pools here in the Virgin Islands is there in St. Croix. And St. Croix has a long and great history in supporting the swimming that goes on there. The pool sits on the ground at the Good Hope Country Day School, and the St. Croix Dolphins are very fortunate to be able to use that pool. Here in St. Thomas, we need a 50-meter pool.
Desperately, right?
We need it desperately here. And in fact, I just came back from Carifta in Aruba, and we were promised that as soon as we have a 50-meter pool here in St. Thomas, we will have the opportunity to host the Carifta Swimming Championships, which could bring thousands of people to the territory. We can host international events. And we have the land at the east end of St. Thomas to do this, where the St. Thomas Swimming Association currently has its 25-meter pool. What we need is the funding to do it. The other thing that we have to offer here that none of the other islands in the Caribbean have, and I've been to most of the Cariftas over the last few years, is that we've got thousands of hotel rooms. I think it's about 12 or 1,300 hotel rooms existing right now within a 10-minute drive of where we would have a 50-meter pool at the east end of St. Thomas. So we are ripe for it. It's not a seasonal sport. It's something where we can bridge some of that seasonality we have in tourism now, and we need to make sure that we get that 50-meter pool at the east end of St. Thomas.
You touch on some economic issues that increasing the number of local swimmers can produce in sports tourism. Let's talk about some of the maritime economics that you were addressing in one of your articles, basically talking about the more swimmers we have in a place like this, the more jobs that are potentially available.
Absolutely, Monica. I mean, what we have is a territory that basically is dependent upon tourism. And what we have to offer in the Virgin Islands is we've got beautiful water, we've got the best weather under the U.S. flag, we've got amazing conditions, we've got the only place really in the world, there's another place like the Virgin Islands, that we've got constant breezes, we have eyeballs.
And it's such a thriving charter business, sailors and...
We have sailors, we have charter boats, we've got ferries, we've got fishing, so we've got all these job opportunities to grow here in the territory, but if we don't get our people swimming, we can't have people work in those industries, because if you want to work on a boat, you need to learn how to swim. If you want to work on a ferry, if you want to be able to do mechanical work and then go test that boat that's out there in the water when you're finished working on the boat, you need to do that. So we've got this huge opportunity in the maritime industry to grow it at the same time that we grow our tourism as we get more people swimming competently here in our waters. How
young do you recommend parents get their children in the water learning how to swim? I mean, we saw some of the St. Croix dolphins. Some of those young kids have been swimming from 5, 6 years old. There are, it's sort of diverse, the Dolphins team over in St. Croix, and we definitely saw when they held some of their invitationals and invited some of these islands from all around the region that there were some young and diverse swimmers in the pool. How young should parents think about getting their kids in the pool?
Well,
or in the ocean?
I think getting their kids in the water can happen when they're infants. I took my daughter to a pool up in the States right after she was born, and she was literally just a few months old and got the experience of getting in the water. So the whole idea is to get a familiarity with the water, dispel the fears of what's going on in the water, but we can't get kids in the water until we get the parents in the water. There's so many parents that we see that have got kids swimming, but the parents themselves don't swim. So one of my goals, one of my missions is to try to get everybody here in the Virgin Islands swimming.
Lastly, let's talk about your daughter, Sasha Klein. She competed for the Virgin Islands at Carafta. She has clearly an incredible competitive swimmer. Give me a sense of how she's progressing as an athlete.
Well, obviously I'm a proud dad.
I'm sure.
And she's progressing great. She works extraordinarily hard. She goes to swim practice 6 days a week. She's an honor student in school, and she's very, very dedicated and committed to her swimming and what she does. She reads about it, she reads Splash magazine, and how she's progressing terrific. She gets mad at herself when she doesn't win, which is a good sign. I try not to coach her. I'm her father. She's got an amazing coach in John Vassbinder, who's the head coach of the St. Thomas Stingrays. He's also the national coach in the Virgin Islands. We have another level 5 coach here in Susie Andrews. So she's got great coaching, and I let the coaches do the coaching and I do parenting.
It looks like you're doing a great job. Thank you so much for joining us here on Overtime.
Thank you very much.
John Klein, President of the Virgin Islands Swimming Federation. You're watching Overtime. We'll be right back, so hang out.
Thank you, Monica.